Hi, and welcome back to Abilene People, the podcast here on BigCountryHomepage.com and the KTAB streaming app on your streaming TV, because that's where streaming apps live, on your streaming TV. But all of these episodes and all of the KTAB originals, KTAB Plus originals are on KTAB Plus, along with a lot of KRBC originals. You got to watch it. If you're watching it there, you already know. Today, we have a very interesting guest, the newly anointed anchor on KTAB Mornings, Pam Ham. How are you? I said Pam Ham, but you go Pam Nolan.
Do you know I've said that twice on air
Have you?
since I've been here? Yeah,
So you have a hyphenated name, but on air you go by Pam Nolan.
yeah, this time around.
Yeah. So you do have a history on TV in West Texas, and you worked all over. We're going to get the whole story, but this is your first TV gig in Abilene, right?
Well, I actually interned at KRBC.
Oh, I didn't realize
when I was in
this.
college at ACU. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you were in this building before, way back in the day. Now,
Way back.
I
You don't have to
own.
say how
I own way back in the day.
Oh,
I
I'm not
invented
sure.
way back in the day. Yeah. But
Oh.
I think you and I were actually at ACU at about the same time.
I think so.
And
I
you
think
did intern. I didn't realize you interned at KRBC in
I
those
did.
days. Yeah.
I worked for in the sports department, simply gathering sports scores.
Oh,
and then
okay.
go out with them to the
And
football games.
and those were the days without smartphones and internet updates, and
Right.
so you were on the phone a lot and going out and beating the
Oh,
the
yeah.
bush for different
Carrying your
angles and
carrying
stories.
your little notebook
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hoping you got it
So,
right.
give us your career story. Where did you go from there, and where all have you been? I know you were out of TV for a while teaching journalism, but give us the broad strokes. Where have you been?
Okay, well, straight out of college, through the pro seminar that ACU, I don't know if they still host it, landed an internship with the Coast Guard in New York, and it was supposed to last 3 months, but I fell in love with the city, and there were ACU grads up there already. I had a lot of friends there, surprisingly, and so when my internship was about to end at the end of the summer, I went into the city. I was living on Governor's Island, and I went into the city, found an internship, actually two, and it just kind of snowballed. So I ended up staying for 6 years in New
Wow,
York City. Yeah, and
wow.
had a ball. Uh, got in debt, which is really
Yeah,
actually,
it's probably pretty easy to do in New York City. It's
oh,
kind of expensive, right?
it is. It
Yeah.
really is. And when you're not making a lot of money, yeah.
Now, did you live that song by Christopher Cross, "When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York City"? Was that part of your
I
story?
got caught between something. I'm not
Yeah, but you
sure.
loved it.
I enjoyed it
Yeah,
so I loved the people. I loved that you were so close to so many
yeah,
places. It was
yeah.
just a
Now,
train ride.
where'd you go from New York City?
Well,
Did
then
you come
I
back to
came back.
Texas
I did. I came back to Midland, Odessa, and worked for about 4 years, I think, and then
in TV?
yep, with
Now,
the
I think I told you I did a Google when you were coming back to Abilene or coming to KTAB, and your name popped up in a Reddit thread from somewhere. And the question was, name TV anchors that you remember and that you love and you would love to
oh
see again. And your
oh.
name came up. Yeah,
Well, how
and it
about
was someone. It was
that?
someone from Midland. Yeah,
Well, that's very
yeah,
nice to hear.
yeah,
You never know.
yeah.
But I love West Texas. The whole area, Midland, Odessa was, I graduated from high school there.
Is that where
So
you grew up?
I actually grew up in New Mexico, Hobbs, New Mexico. We call it Hobbs, America,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah,
They're very close, Southeast New Mexico and West Texas.
yeah.
So I grew up a New Mexico girl.
And
Yeah.
so you got to Texas just as soon as you could, though, because you know how New Mexicans and
Well, the roads are
Oklahomans are,
better.
right?
The roads are better, so obviously, but
So,
yeah.
we're recording this the day before my wife and I leave for a little over a week's vacation, and we drive through New Mexico. So, yeah,
Oh.
I actually love New Mexico. We
I
spent a
love
lot
it
of time
very
there.
much,
Yeah.
very much. My grandmother, if you could drive in the car with her, she would open up a whole different world of New Mexico for
Yeah.
you. She would point out the colors of the rock and the land. It's a beautiful, very understated
Well, it's the
state.
land of enchantment,
It is
Pam.
indeed. It
So,
is
and then
indeed.
where did you go after West Texas, and then between then and now you're back in Abilene?
Okay,
Where all were
so
you?
from Midland, Odessa, headed for Austin. Went to Austin and worked
Okay.
for KXAN, the NBC affiliate, for about 6 years.
Big station. Were you
Nice.
were you on air?
I
Yeah.
was reporting, and then I ended up doing a lot on the morning show, and then had a baby and my son Matthew, and just wanted to go back home. And so I ended up back in Midland, Odessa again,
Okay.
and this time for about 11 years.
And
Yeah.
now we're jump all over the place. That's the only way I can live my life, and much less have conversations on Abilene people.
But it's
Jump all
less
over the place.
boring that
Yeah, I
way.
guess maybe. I hope folks agree.
Yeah.
But Matthew just graduated from Texas A&M University,
About 2 years ago, he
and
did.
so
Yeah.
how was that having an Aggie and an Aggie son? Is he in the Aggie I
It's
love Texas A&M crowd, or is he in the I went to A&M
No,
crowd?
no. I'm probably more that than he is, and I didn't go to A&M, but I've always thought very highly of that institution. Um, but no, he just kind of he and all of his friends are kind of like, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I got my degree.
That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I get it.
get
I
in
get
and
it.
out. He went to the football game, but he didn't bleed, maroon.
Okay, I got
So
it. I got it.
yeah,
Yeah, and there are people who do. We all, I think, know that,
they
but
have an incredible. But to their credit, they have an incredible alumni.
yeah, they do.
They really do. They watch out for each other.
Yeah,
They watch for the ones coming up and help them out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're back in Abilene. You enjoying it
Oh, love it.
now? How big of an adjustment is it to do morning TV? Because you got to get up early. In fact,
Yeah,
you get up so early, you've got to go to bed early too, right?
I try to. I really do. I haven't gotten into that yet. But
What time you
yeah.
get up? What time do you arrive at
Well,
work?
right now, as you know, Danny, this is a whole new world for me. I was out for 15 years, so to
Yeah,
walk into a
technology's
situation, oh
changed. Everything producing your
man,
show has changed. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, very much
yeah.
so. But I have to give credit to so many people here.
Well, and
Joni
Joni has
McKinnon,
been great. Kira Jenkins has been great. I know that.
they've been
Ron, and
terrific.
you
Oh
stepped
boy,
into the anchor chair that Ron Rousseau
what
has held for
a
so many years.
lovely, lovely man.
Yeah, great guy.
I met him and felt like I'd known him forever.
Yeah. Ron's one of those
Lovely,
people, if all you ever knew of Ron was watching him on TV, you would think, yeah, he's a pretty, vanilla
pretty good.
guy.
Yeah,
When you get to know Ron outside the anchor in the studio and all that, he
yeah.
is hilarious.
He's
Funny.
dad jokes. That's what I
Yeah.
learned. He does
Yeah.
dad jokes.
Yeah.
But just really, really hard to see him leave. And I only knew him for 2 weeks. But just
Yeah. Great guy.
really gifted, talented, just high standards.
So
And yeah,
when you talk about the learning curve, you're saying you're getting up a little extra early
right
now, and it
now.
won't always be that way. What is extra early? Are we talking 2 a.m. or 1
Oh no,
a.m.
I'm
or
getting here Monday. This is my first week on my own completely. But Joni, bless her heart, is still helping me.
yeah?
The night before she's sending me stuff. And anyway, let's see, Monday I was really nervous. So I got here at 12:30. I was
You
really
you were
nervous.
leaving. Bob Bartlett was just leaving
Ooh,
to go home, and you were
yeah,
arriving.
yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
exactly. Yeah. And then just fudged a little bit and got here a little after 1 on Tuesday.
So, it does take a village. TV stations a little bit like a family because you're with people, and what people
Yeah.
see on air is
Yeah.
not at all really what goes on in a TV station.
Boy, that is so true.
Yeah.
Really. There is a lot to going into it, and going through school and all that kind of stuff. You know, I always encouraged people that were going wanted to go into this, and this is going to sound really weird, and I don't mean anything against any of the television the programs, the educational programs, but you could major in government or English, but go get an internship because all the time in the classroom is great. You can learn ethics, you can learn some terminology, but get an internship
Yeah.
and learn the ropes. And I had an audition tape, a resume tape by the time I got to New York, and it determined a lot of what happened
Yeah.
to me, really.
It's funny, isn't it, that academic pursuit is we see its value, we see its place,
Yeah.
and I have a couple of 3 degrees. I get it, but I often think of what my wife says about being an educator, that she spent 4 years getting a degree in education, but it was her little bit of time as a student teacher. And
Yeah.
then the first couple of years in the classroom, that's where she really learned
Oh,
everything that she
yeah, I
uses.
bet.
So
Oh
I think that's
man.
true for so many disciplines.
Sure, you bet, because you're going to learn. Yeah, you're going to learn the black and white, the
Yeah,
pitfalls, the
yeah.
successes, and you're going to learn how to adjust to all that.
So talk to me about. You mentioned you had a baby, and then we talked about Matthew being a graduate of
Yeah.
A&M. How does being a mom affect your view of news, stories about moms, stories about families? I've got to think that affects you, huh?
You are absolutely right. I would say it's an emotional thing. Um, I hate to admit this, but you have to be a little bit, not calloused, but indifferent sometimes because some of these stories that come in, 9/11, for example, you have to be able to just move forward. You can't dwell in what's happened. You can't, you've got to push it all down. And I did that for so many years. And I remember telling one of our camera operators in Midland years, decades ago, oh, I'm not going to have kids. I'm not going to have kids. Well, the truth is, I was told I couldn't have kids. So I had already adjusted that in my mind and then got married. And within 3 months, had a baby. It really changes the way you view stories about abuse or accidents involving children. So probably for the most part, it was an emotional thing for me. It
Yeah,
became very difficult to just push that down or push it aside.
I get that. I mean, I see that and can imagine that. Never having done your job, never having anchored a show. I I wonder sometimes how you all do it when you cover a story about a child that's been abused. And
Hmm.
the Epstein files and that conversation continues to happen as so many people are pushing it aside and ignoring it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I no need to go down that rabbit trail now. But I will say one of the reasons I'm convinced that people push it aside is because we don't want to deal with stuff like that. We
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
hear what
ugly.
happened to little girls,
Oh, it's
and
ugly.
how
Yeah.
you deal with stories like that. And Abilene has
Hmm.
more than its fair share of child abuse
Yeah.
stories and pedophile stories. How do you, so you just compartmentalize.
You learn to, and I'm really trying to get back into that because I've spent all this time with Matthew and being around him and being around kids and also the whole teaching thing, and so I still get choked up, and I never did that before, but yeah, it can be a little rough. So I'm gonna have to retrain myself, not to be callous, as I said, but as you said, compartmentalize.
Yeah, I get it, and I understand that. I think the audience would even give you the grace to say sometimes calloused because you just have to build a wall. I mean,
Hmm.
and we'll talk more about the mix of journalism and private life and everything, and more
Yeah.
of your life story. But we do want to take a quick break,
Okay.
and we will be right back here on Abilene People. I'm your host, Eddie Sims. Our guest is Pam Nolan, the morning host on KTAB TV news every weekday, where she just casually comes in about, 5:40. No,
Yeah.
your show
Well,
starts at 5:30.
I'm still
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm
She
usually
just,
I'm
she rolls out of bed
I'm
at
eating my
5 in the
egg
morning.
McMuffin, got my feet up, waiting for people to bring me my scripts.
Right. That's how it works. Okay. We'll be
Right.
right back after this break. Okay, welcome back. We are back with Pam Nolan, and I got this question for you, Pam. When it comes to trust in media, I think you would agree. I'm going to paint with a large brush here, but I think you would agree with me that we've seen a trust in media decline in our culture in America over the last 10, 20 years. I'm not asking necessarily to tell us why that is, but I do want your opinion on, do you think people still trust our local news? And if so, how is local news making an impact sometimes where people might dismiss news in other ways or
Mhm.
media in other
Mhm.
ways or have a low view of media, but they still have, I think, have a pretty high view of local news.
Yeah.
Agree,
Yeah.
disagree, thoughts?
No, I agree. In fact, I think this is my theory, and this is what I've seen, especially in the last decade. It's to me, it's not always journalism anymore. It's editorial. And I think sometimes in national news, like when you are when you're when you're learning this, when you're in school, it is hammered into your head, attribution, attribution, attribution. When I say that word, what I mean is you are there just to bring people the information. You're not there to bring them your opinion or to jade them one way or the other. You are simply, as we were always told, you're a watchdog for the public. I don't think we're seeing that in national news anymore. I mean, I don't care what side of the bank you're on, we're not seeing that anymore. And
Yeah.
it's more about and it's as simple as officials say, witnesses say. You're attributing it. When you don't use that, then you are making yourself the story. You're making yourself the expert. And I hear it every day on national news. Local news, I think people trust it, in my opinion, trust it more because I think we're more accountable. And we don't have uh, Procter and Gamble or Johnson & Johnson to protect us.
Yeah.
We
No, good
don't have
point.
that.
Yeah, in fact, the people who advertise on our air, we see them at the grocery store
You bet.
or at the Little League field or
You
whatnot.
bet. You
Yeah.
bet. And we owe them. We owe them that.
Yeah.
We owe them to go back to the who, what, where, when, why,
Yeah.
instead of telling a story.
Have
We
you
just,
have you had that occur yet back in Abilene on air where somebody sees you at the grocery store, one of our viewers I'm talking about, and they see you and say, "Wait a second, I see you on TV." And if not, are you prepared for that? Because some people on TV love that and some
Mhm.
people on TV don't like that. And and
Yeah.
and to be candid, I would be in the I don't like that category, you know? What are your thoughts about that?
I've always felt like if no matter how they feel about you, if they care enough to even approach you, that's cool.
Yeah. So, how do you, or and you may not care, but and of course this is kind of a funny setup, I guess. But if you do care, you probably won't like this line of questions. But how do you deal with the blend of your public personality on TV and your private world and your private life? Has that ever been an issue for you?
You know what the issue is? Having to make sure that you're all put together before you go out the door. Um, and that, you don't have to do that, but and you're under a looking glass. Um, I'm trying to think. One of the things that I experienced way back in Midland, w- when anchors I worked with would hear things about themselves out in the public, and it may have just started from them having a drink at Olive Garden. I don't drink, but I had friends that enjoyed a drink, and before you knew it, somebody decided they were an alcoholic or they saw him out partying, and you know it just happens. You are under a looking glass, and so if nothing else, just act that way. I mean, what do I put it? Realize that you're kind of an ambassador, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I tell people I've had 3 careers, or 3 lives is actually the way I put it, talking about the 3 different distinct careers I've had. And one of those careers, I felt like I was like that, where people saw me and I had to kind of watch myself, and I didn't like it. I'd rather
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
me, you know? And of
Well,
course,
are you that bad? I mean, are you
well, no, I mean,
are you really Jekyll and Hyde? Is
I
that what you're
think
telling
I
me?
think I understand the question, but I'm not. I don't think I am. I'd rather relax and just, but sometimes you can't do that if you have a certain job where,
Yeah. Yeah.
people are watching you. As you
Mhm.
said, you're under a
Mhm.
microscope.
Mhm.
So, funny stories that you remember from your career. There had to have been some funny things that maybe happened on air. Maybe that's the way to get there, but also some funny stories or funny characters you've met along the way. No?
Oh goodness, I wouldn't even know where to start. The you know, Sometimes you have to go on air when you're not feeling great, maybe, and right now I'm feeling the Sahara, whatever it is. I have allergies, but I can remember many times having to go on the air and your nose is running, and you're in the middle of a story, and you're just waiting for the video to come up so you can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
something,
yeah,
and just simple things like that. Boy, embarrassing moments. There are just too many. The funniest and really the most animated time in my career was in Austin because I was covering the courts in the Capitol. And George Bush, future president, was there. But um, there was a really, really controversial case. Carla Faye Tucker
Oh, I
you
remember.
remember that
Oh, the
case?
pickaxe murder.
That's right. The
Yeah.
first woman we were going to put to death in Texas.
Yeah.
He was coming under fire. CNN was here. There was
Yeah.
one woman in particular that just was grilling him every chance she got. And I can remember his responses, were very matter of fact. She was really grilling him one day, and he leaned over, kind of put his hand over the mic and just said, you know, she put a pickaxe through a man's chest. And here in the state of Texas, we kill you for that. And then backed up. But I called the governor's mansion, and he found out that I went to Lee High School, so he always called me Johnny Reb. And so very personable,
Yeah.
incredibly personal, and funny, funny, funny. Whether you liked him or didn't like him, the guy had a great sense of humor. Talked about, well, going off the Wilco building. I don't know if you remember that
Yeah.
story, but he
Yeah.
was very open about his press crew. Just they had to have had ulcers because he was so difficult to not really control, but just kind of curb or, please don't say that, that kind of thing. But anyway, so I called over there looking for his press secretary because I was told Neil was at the governor's mansion with the governor. So somebody answers the phone, hello, and there's all this banging around. And I said, I am looking for Neil. What do you want with him? I would like to, and I kind of paused and I said, Governor? And he said, yeah, you got the gov. And there's stuff just banging around. I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm trying to fix a sandwich. I can't find anything to fix a sandwich. So he was so obliging and so accessible. And so anyway, I told him, would you be available? He said, you wanna talk to me about the Tucker case? I said, yeah, would you mind? He goes, give me 20 minutes to choke down a sandwich. Meet me here at the governor's mansion. So that's what I did. Another time, his press secretary, Karen Hughes, incredible woman. She's
Who went to DC with him
yeah, well,
for a while?
and then just wanted to come
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Karen Hughes is brilliant.
Yeah.
And
You cannot live. You talk about a microscope. You can't
oof,
live any kind of normalcy in
oh
DC.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. She wrote a great book, and now the title escapes me. But Karen was a very good contact resource for all of us, and I loved Karen Hughes, still do. In fact, the speech after 9/11. Um, when George Bush, at the end of the speech, he says, "Go home and hold and hug your children." Karen wrote that. So, oh, I still get choked up about that
Yeah.
one. Anyway, Karen was brilliant, and she called me one day, and she said, "Are y'all free to come over to the press room in the Capitol?" And I said, well, yeah. And she goes, no, it's a story. So I went to the Simon Center. I said, they won't tell me what it is, but we're going to go over there. So we went over there, and I'm sitting there with my photog, and Karen comes up behind me, and she's in the pew behind me, and she leans forward, and she goes, "Ugh, he is making me crazy." Talking about the governor. And I said, what's going on? She goes, I'm not supposed to tell you. All of a sudden, ZZ Top music starts coming over the intercom or the speaker. And he comes in with ZZ Top, sunglasses and everything, doing the walk. And it was to declare it ZZ Top Day. So that's the kind of, I mean, it was just so animated and so much fun with him. And we knew he was a walking soundbite, which means any quote. And I will say this publicly, I knew when Perry got to office, it would be a whole different ball of wax,
And
and
it
it
was.
was.
And it was.
I
Yeah.
could go in any time and hopefully get an interview. When Perry came on board, you needed like 3 sets of press credentials to
Yeah.
talk to him. It
And
was
it's
a
funny.
very, very different.
Both of those guys are West Texas guys.
Well, yeah, they are. My
Yeah.
my great uncle, Uncle Joe, built Perry's family's fireplace. I mean, he came from Paint Rock, so they all knew each other. But yeah, he was just a little. I don't know if it was just being cautious. I don't know what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, and some of it may have been a reaction to I'm not going to be George W. I'm going to be my own
Tough
guy.
act.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tough
Okay.
act.
I've heard a rumor that you love outdoors, you love camping, you love that
I
whole
do.
thing. So
Yeah.
if you're going to go somewhere and the phone can't ring and you're going to camp and hang out outside, where do you go? Or where would you want to go?
Boy, it would probably there'd be a lot of choices. I love Big Bend. I love
Yeah.
Pine Canyon. I learned to rappel in Pine Canyon. Um, I like the basin. I love all that. But I also like heavy pine trees and all that kind of thing. So I enjoy the Sangre de Cristo Mountains up in between Las Vegas and Santa Fe, New Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful area. And I counseled at a kids camp there for 2 summers during
Nice.
college. Yeah.
Nice.
Camp Blue Haven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good hikes. And so that would probably be my prime spot. Yeah.
Yeah, where we go every year takes us through that exact area and then north of
Really.
Santa Fe,
Ugh.
up the mountain from Antonito, Colorado, and the Conejo River
Oh
Valley.
my
It's just
goodness.
wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's nothing better. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy the outdoors very much.
So as we draw toward conclusion, I
Mhm.
just want to ask you biggest challenge in your life. I know it's a big question. You don't have to get into details,
Yeah.
but just what are one or two biggest challenges in your life? And when you look back on your life, the two or three times or maybe seasons where you think that's where I was really happiest. Can you think of those kind of things? Is that unfair to put
No,
that kind
no,
of
that's
question
not.
towards you?
The really and truly, Danny, I do believe that we go through seasons. And I think when you think of life as seasons, then you know when it's a rough season, you know that season's going to end. So that's how I usually just
Pardon
prior
me.
to coming to Abilene, my son and I did go through a difficult season. I'm 3 years cancer free. I went through chemo.
I didn't know
Um,
this about you.
yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I lost all my hair, everything. But yeah, very grateful for the doctors, extremely grateful. So yeah, I'm coming up on 3 years. And then not long after that, they found some more. So I went through a major surgery, but no radiation or chemo after that. But shortly after that, my marriage of 15 years ended. And then in the middle of that period where I was getting divorced, I lost my person. My younger sister passed away suddenly.
Goodness, Pam.
She was working out and had a stroke.
Divorce, cancer, and your favorite person in your world passes away.
Well, now
Goodness.
Matthew's up there really high. But you know what? You know this as well as I do. We have so many people in the Bible that they are brought to their knees only to be given something even greater. So I think this is my greater.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, man. I'm not sure how to respond to somebody that has gone through such deep valleys and is coming out saying, "This is my greater." Hats
Oh,
off to you.
well, I think
What perspective?
it has strengthened my faith. It really has. I know where I'm going and I know I want to be there and I'm ready anytime. Um, I had done some public speaking years back, and I'll never forget somebody asked me, "Do you have anything that's relatable to the people you're going to talk to?" I mean, I guess I don't know what they were trying to say, but I was like, "Yeah, I think so." I mean, um, I was actually in a plane crash in 2000. So
Wow.
I
Okay,
was.
wait a second. Wait a second. This is going to require
So I
this is
think
going to require a second appearance on Abilene People to unpack
I
all of
do
this.
think God does things to get our attention, and I'm grateful that He wanted my attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, a plane crash. Yeah, it's been an adventure.
Well, we are grateful that you're here in Abilene
Well, I'm
and on
so
KTAB.
thrilled and grateful to be here.
And you can see KTAB mornings every weekday with Pam Nolan and one of the world's greatest young meteorologists, Susanna Harbert.
Oh,
Yeah. You got to
she's
love working with her.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes, she's amazing and just as sweet as she sounds.
And that's at 5:30 every morning, KTAB. And that's also live on KTAB Plus on your streaming device. We're starting to promote that more and more and more.
Wow.
Great to have you here on
Listen,
Abilene
wonderful
People.
questions. You're so fun.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Love
It
love
was a
having you here.
pleasure.
And I want to give a
Pleasure.
shout out to our ace producer Uday Singh, who keeps us going over there on the production board. And I want to give a shout out to you, our audience, for joining us here on Abilene People, where we have the most interesting people. And we will definitely have Pam Nolan back to talk about that plane crash and overcoming challenges. I get the feeling Pam could just give us a wonderful life lesson kind of talk where she just kind of just goes. Maybe we'll have one of those episodes here on
You're
Abilene
kind to
People.
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't
well,
know about that.
I think so. We
Wow.
appreciate you, and
Thank you.
join us again next time on Abilene People, where we will have another one of Abilene's most interesting people right here. We will see you next time if we're lucky. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Danny Sims.